The large metal ship landed quietly on the outer platform of Outpost 7, a space station orbiting the edge of neutral territory. No ceremony, no crowd, just a dull sound as the landing gears pressed against the steel. The cargo bay hissed open, and out stepped two armored escorts. Between them was a girl, no older than 16 in human years, small and light with pale bluish-purple skin. Her white robe was dusty and wrinkled, her shoulders slouched. She didn't speak. Her name was Leary, a member of a peaceful alien race known as the Yalari. 2 years ago, she had been sent to Earth as part of a cultural exchange, an experiment, to bond alien children with human hosts, to build peace for future generations. Leary had gone with bright eyes and hopeful dreams, but now she was returned like an unwanted package. The official at the dock barely looked up from his datapad. "Name?" he asked the lead escort. "Leary of the Yalari. Failed bonding program. Returned to sender," the armored figure said coldly. "She's not listed for holding," the official muttered. "Doesn't matter. Galactic Council says she's not to be integrated. They'll send for her later, probably," the escort added, shrugging. The girl remained silent as they left her alone by the supply crates. The metal doors closed behind them. No goodbye. No farewell. Leary looked around the cold platform. A few workers passed by. Some glanced at her but quickly turned away. Her people had rejected her. The humans she once knew were gone. She had nowhere to go. Far above, inside the repair bay, a young human technician named Callan was fixing a damaged drone. His dark gloves were covered in oil and sweat ran down his brow. He had just finished rewiring the core when he saw her on the camera feed, alone on Dock 3. He blinked and looked again. A girl? Sitting in the open air with no escort? That wasn't normal. He zoomed in. She looked familiar. Curious, he wiped his hands and took the lift down. When he stepped onto the platform, the air was chilly. The wind from the cooling vents made a low hum. Callan spotted her right away. She was sitting on a crate, arms around her knees, robe fluttering slightly. "Hey," he said gently. Leary didn't answer. He stepped closer, careful not to startle her. "Are you okay?" Her head slowly turned. Her eyes were wide and silver. She looked at him for a long time, trying to remember. Then she spoke, her voice soft and unsure. "You're human?" "Yeah," he nodded. "Name's Callan. I work in repairs. Are you from the Yalari?" Leary nodded once. He saw how thin she looked and her feet were bare. "Are you waiting for someone?" She looked away. "No one wants me." Callan didn't know what to say. There was sadness in her voice that felt heavy. Not just sadness, abandonment. He sat down a short distance away. "You hungry?" he asked. She hesitated, then gave a tiny nod. Callan reached into his pack and pulled out a sealed protein bar. "It's not fancy, but it's real food." She accepted it slowly, as if unsure it was truly for her. When she bit into it, her hands trembled. "You've been out here long?" he asked. "Since morning. They said I had to wait." But no one came. Callan frowned. This was wrong. She wasn't a criminal, she wasn't dangerous. She was just a kid. "Why did they send you back?" "I don't know," she whispered. "My host family was kind. They laughed with me. I loved Earth. I even learned music." "Music?" Callan raised an eyebrow. "I sang at the school. They said I had a pretty voice. Then one day, soldiers came. They said I was going home. And you didn't want to?" She shook her head, slowly. Earth felt like home. Callan leaned back, taking in a deep breath. "Sounds like you didn't fail anything." "They said I changed," Leary whispered. "Too human. They said I forgot who I was." The words hit him hard. How could becoming peaceful, loving music, or smiling more often be wrong? He stood up. "Wait here, okay?" She nodded, chewing. The last bite of the protein bar. Callan walked back into the station, straight to the officer in charge. "That girl outside, Leary, what's going to happen to her?" he asked firmly. The officer sighed. Technically, she's under no one's care. She was returned by her own people. We're just holding her until someone claims responsibility. And if no one does, then she'll be transferred to a diplomatic dormitory. Probably forgotten. Callan gritted his teeth. She's a kid. She was part of a council-approved program. Council doesn't care anymore. The Yalari broke off from the exchange agreement last cycle. Said the results were unnatural. Emotional instability. Bonding failure. Callan shook his head. She's not unstable. She's just been through too much. Then she's someone else's problem, the officer said, going back to his paperwork. Back on the platform, Leary sat alone again. She stared at the sky above, the stars blinking far away. The stars used to make her feel excited. Now they felt cold. But soon footsteps returned. Callan brought a blanket and a small heater unit. He set them down beside her. You can't stay out here in the cold, he said. She looked at the blanket, then at him. Why are you helping me? He shrugged. Because someone should. She pulled the blanket over her shoulders. It smelled of machine oil and fresh cloth, warmth. I'm not broken, she whispered. I know, Callan said. You're just unappreciated. A silence settled between them, but this time it wasn't empty. It was calm, and for the first time in days, Leary felt something deep inside her begin to thaw. Hope. The next morning, Outpost 7 began its usual routine. Ships arriving and leaving, cargo being sorted, and workers moving through the halls with tired eyes. But in a quiet corner near the supply deck, something unusual was happening. Leary sat wrapped in a blanket, her back against a wall beside a small heater. Callan had brought her a bowl of hot soup and some water. She sipped slowly, her hands still shaky. But her eyes were brighter than before. Callan sat on an empty crate nearby, watching her. He had skipped his morning duty shift, but he didn't care. Something about this girl pulled at his heart. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't defective. She was just lost. You feeling better today? He asked softly. She nodded. Thank you for staying. He smiled. Didn't feel right to leave you out here. You're not trash to be returned. Just then, the station's security officer arrived, a tall man with a gray uniform and a cold stare. What's this? He barked. She's still here? Callan stood up. There's no order on her. She's not a prisoner. The officer didn't care. She doesn't belong here. She's been classified as a failed diplomatic return. We have no housing for her. She's not council property and her species won't accept her back. Leary's fingers tightened around her soup bowl. Where is she supposed to go? Callan asked. The officer shrugged. Until we get new orders, she stays out of restricted zones, that's all I can say. He left without another word. Leary looked down. Even my people don't want me. Callan sat beside her. Then maybe it's time we decide what you want, not them. Leary looked up, confused. Me? Yes, he said firmly. You're still a person, you have a voice. She was quiet for a while, then whispered, I miss music. Callan tilted his head. What kind? Leary's lips curved into a faint smile. Old earth music. I used to sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star at Night. My host mother said I sounded like wind in the trees. Callan laughed gently. Well, now I need to hear that someday. Her smile grew just a little more. Later that day, Callan tried to ask around the station for help. Housing, food access, anything. But no one wanted to be involved. She's marked as failed protocol, one officer said. Council doesn't back those programs anymore, a clerk muttered. She's a rejected case. Keep your head down, Callan, warned a friend in logistics. It felt like every door was closing. Back at the resting area, Leary had taken to drawing on a small tablet Callan gave her. She sketched stars, moons, and strange birds with long tails. It gave her peace. That evening, Callan brought her some spare clothes, simple gray overalls and a clean shirt. He turned away politely while she changed behind a curtain he set up. "Much better," he said when she stepped out. "I look like an engineer." She smiled. "Perfect disguise." As they laughed softly, a sudden voice echoed down the corridor. "Step away from her." 2 galactic inspectors had arrived, dressed in black, tall, and silent. Their eyes scanned Leary like she was a broken machine. "We've been sent to collect the Yalari girl," one said. "On whose orders?" Callan asked, stepping forward. "Classified. She is being taken to Evaluation Station 12 for psychological and genetic review." Leary's smile vanished. Her eyes went wide. "Please." "No," she whispered. "She's done nothing wrong," Callan said loudly. "You can't just take her away like cargo." "She's not registered under any civilian care," the inspector said coldly. "And her return program has been flagged as unstable. She must be reprocessed." "Reprocessed?" Callan repeated, disgusted. "She's not a file or a drone." Leary backed against the wall, shaking. One of the inspectors reached for her arm. Callan moved fast, standing between them. "You'll have to go through me." There was silence. The inspector frowned. "You're interfering with an official recovery. I'm protecting someone who doesn't deserve to be treated like this." The inspectors looked at each other. Then one tapped a device. "We'll return tomorrow. If she's still here, she comes with us by force." They left without another word. Leary fell to her knees. Callan rushed to her side. "I won't let them take you." Tears formed in her eyes. "They'll erase me, make me forget Earth." Callan didn't know what to say. He held her hand tightly. "We'll figure this out," he whispered. "I promise." That night, Leary couldn't sleep. She sat near the window, staring at the stars. They no longer looked cold, but they still felt far away. Callan sat nearby, working quietly on an old communication panel. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Trying to find a friend," he replied. "Someone who might help." "Another human?" He shook his head. "Someone who owes me a favor, and someone who doesn't follow council rules." Leary looked curious. "She used to be a diplomat. Now she runs a safe colony off the grid. They accept anyone who's been thrown away." "Do you think she'll take me?" "I think," Callan said, "she'll be angry it even came to this." He looked at her. "Leary, you matter. Don't ever forget that." She nodded, wiping her eyes. The next morning, Callan was called to Central Command. While he was gone, a few younger workers came by and stared at Leary. "That's the alien girl, right? Why is she still here? Didn't her kind say she's broken or something?" Leary heard everything, but she didn't react. She just stared at her drawing tablet, adding color to a small star in the corner. Callan returned with bad news. His contact hadn't answered yet. "Maybe she's busy," he said, trying to stay hopeful. But time was running out. The inspectors would return. Leary stood up slowly. "If they come back, I'll go with them." "What?" Callan said in shock. "I don't want you to get hurt because of me." He walked to her and held her shoulders gently. "Leary, I made a choice to stand by you. I don't regret it." She looked up at him. "Why?" "Because I believe in you. I see something in you that they don't." She swallowed hard. "You make me feel not forgotten." Callan smiled. "Good. Because you're not." That night, while Leary rested near the heater, Callan sat with his back to the wall. He stared at the blinking light on the comm device. Suddenly it blinked blue. A signal. He leaned forward and pressed the receiver. A woman's voice answered. Calm, strong. "Callan, you're in trouble, aren't you?" He smiled. "Not me. A friend." "Send the details, I'll respond." The line cut. Hope sparked again. Callan looked over at Leary. "We're not out of time yet," he whispered. The station lights dimmed into night mode and silence filled the halls. Most workers were asleep in their bunks and the command center ran on a low alert cycle. But Callan stayed awake. He sat beside the small heater where Leary was resting. Her Head leaned gently against the metal wall, her thin blanket wrapped tightly around her small body. She looked peaceful. But Callan knew it wouldn't last. The galactic inspectors would return in the morning, and if they found her, they would take her away. Callan's mind raced. He had to act now, tonight. The communication signal from his old contact had arrived just in time. Her name was Senna, a former diplomat who had left the Galactic Council years ago. She now ran an independent colony on a quiet moon called Eliara, a place where unwanted people could live free. Callan quietly got up and opened his storage locker. Inside was a small metal box locked with a key. He took it out, opened it, and stared at the contents. Inside were an old ID badge, access codes, and a hand-drawn map his brother had once given him. His brother, now gone, had helped people escape the same cruel system that had turned Leary into a problem. Callan whispered, "Wish you were here, Rane." He grabbed a spare uniform, a maintenance pod access chip, and a portable power cell. He slipped the items into a bag, then gently shook Leary awake. "Leary, wake up." She opened her eyes slowly, blinking at him. "Is it morning?" "No, but we have to go." Her body tensed. "They're coming now?" "No," Callan said. "But they will. I'm not waiting for them." She sat up, confused. "Where will we go?" "There's a place called Eliara, a safe moon. It's far, but we'll be free." Leary looked down. "Will I really be safe there?" "Yes," Callan said firmly. "But we have to leave now, quietly." She nodded. They moved through the lower decks of the station, avoiding the cameras. Callan knew the blind spots. He had repaired many of the systems himself. The corridors smelled of oil and metal. Pipes hissed gently above them. Leary kept close, her small steps quick and careful. "Where are we going?" she whispered. "To the repair dock," Callan said. "There's an old maintenance pod. It's not fast, but it has a jump core." She clutched the edge of her sleeve. "Won't they track us?" Callan smiled. "Not if we erase our exit trail. I've done it before." When they reached the dock, Callan paused and peeked around the corner. 2 security guards were talking near the far door. One of them was laughing at something on his datapad. The other was leaning on a crate, looking bored. Callan turned to Leary. "We can't go that way. But there's another entrance through the waste chute. It's tight, but we'll fit." She blinked. "The trash tunnel?" He grinned. "Best path for people no one wants." She didn't laugh, but she smiled softly. They crawled into the side tunnel. It was narrow, with dim lights and leftover crates piled to the side. The walls were damp and cold, and the air smelled musty. Leary's robe caught on a pipe. Callan gently freed it and helped her climb over a ledge. Finally, they reached a small maintenance door. Callan used his access chip, and the door slid open. With a soft hiss, inside was a dusty maintenance pod, small, rounded, and covered in old repair tags. It wasn't impressive, but it was ready. "Climb in," he whispered. Leary entered the pod and sat in the second seat. She looked around nervously. Callan powered up the console. The screen flickered, then turned green. "All systems working," he muttered. "Good." Suddenly, a loud voice echoed from above. "Unauthorized activity detected in Repair Bay 3. Callan's heart jumped. Someone had spotted them. "Hold tight," he said. He slammed the launch button. The pod shook. Metal doors opened. Engines roared. In seconds, the pod blasted away from the station into the darkness of space. Inside the pod, everything vibrated. The walls rattled, the lights flickered, and the engine gave a loud hum. But they were moving. "We're out," Callan shouted over the noise. Leary held onto her seat. Her eyes were wide but filled with hope. Behind them, Outpost 7 was shrinking in the distance. No one could reach them now, not for a while. Callan opened the nav system and entered the jump coordinates for Eliara. "Hold your breath," he said. "Jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars around them stretched like lines of light. Then, boom, they jumped. Time passed differently in hyperspace. The pod glided silently through the blue corridor of light. Callan adjusted the controls and glanced at Leary. You doing okay? She nodded. It's strange. I've never jumped before. You're doing great, he said. She looked at him. Thank you for coming back for me. He smiled. You didn't deserve what happened. None of it. I was afraid no one would care. Well, now someone does. They sat in silence for a while. The pod was warm, and the vibration had settled. Leary leaned her head against the seat, her eyes closing gently. Callan looked ahead, but in his heart he felt something new, like he had done something right. Like helping her was the most important thing he'd ever done. Hours later, the pod exited hyperspace near a glowing moon. Iliara. It was peaceful, covered in green hills and gentle rivers. Callan opened the radio line. This is Callan Ferris requesting landing clearance. A voice responded. Callan, it's been a long time. Hey, Senna, I have someone with me. She needs sanctuary. There was a pause. Bring her in. We're ready. The pod entered Iliara's atmosphere, and soon a small landing platform appeared near a quiet valley. A few people stood waiting, humans and aliens alike. They looked curious but not hostile. Leary stepped out of the pod. The wind touched her face gently. The sun above was soft and golden. She turned to Callan. It's beautiful. He smiled. Told you it'd be better. Senna walked forward. She was older, sharp-eyed, but kind. So this is the girl the council rejected, she said. Leary looked down. Senna placed a hand on her shoulder. Well, we don't reject people here. And, with that, they walked toward the village together. The village of Iliara was small but alive with warmth and hope. Nestled between rolling green hills and sparkling rivers, it was a safe haven for those who had been cast aside by the larger galactic powers. Here, humans and aliens lived side by side, working together to build a life free from fear and judgment. As Leary stepped off the landing platform, her pale skin glowing softly in the sunlight, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Welcome. Senna led her down a narrow path lined with colorful flowers and small homes built with care. The villagers paused to look, some with curious eyes, others with gentle smiles. None turned away. You will be safe here, Senna said softly. We take care of each other. Callan walked beside them, feeling a quiet pride. He had brought Leary here to save her from the coldness of rejection. Now the warmth of this place filled the empty spaces inside both of them. Inside the village, Leary was shown to a small cottage where she could rest. The walls were decorated with paintings and soft cloths, and the air smelled of herbs and fresh bread. You'll stay here for now, Senna said kindly. Tomorrow you'll meet the others. Leary nodded, still quiet but beginning to feel safe. That evening, as Callan helped unload supplies from the pod, Leary wandered outside. The stars above shone brighter here, and a gentle breeze brushed her. Forty, she whispered to the night. Maybe this is home. The next day, Leary was invited to the village school. Children of many worlds filled the small building, some with green skin, others with feathers or glowing eyes. They were all learning to live together, to understand each other. Leary stood before the class, nervous but hopeful. I want to teach you Earth songs, she said softly. Songs of peace and joy. The children's eyes lit up. She sang a simple melody, the one her host mother had taught her, the same Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Her voice was clear and gentle. The children listened, some humming along. Callan watched from the doorway, amazed. Leary's gift was more than her skin or species. It was her heart. Days turned into weeks. Leary grew stronger and happier. She helped with teaching, learned new languages, and shared stories of Earth. The villagers accepted her not as a failed experiment, but as a friend. Callan and Leary grew closer too. He was no longer just her rescuer, but her companion. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, they sat by a campfire. Do you miss Earth? Callan asked. Leary nodded. Sometimes, but Iliara feels like a new beginning. He smiled. You deserve that. She looked at him, her silver eyes shining. Thank you for saving me. Callan's voice was soft. You saved me too. I never wanted to feel so helpless. They shared a quiet moment under the stars, two souls finding hope together. But peace was fragile. Word had spread beyond Illyria. The Galactic Council did not forget easily. Bounty hunters were sent to find Leary, marked as a dangerous escaped subject. One afternoon, while the village gathered for a festival, loud engines roared overhead. Callan looked up, alarmed. Two sleek ships landed near the edge of the village. Armed figures stepped out, their armor gleaming and faces hidden behind helmets. Are here for the Yellari girl, a commander announced. She must return with us. The villagers tensed but did not panic. Senna stepped forward. This is Illyria. We protect those who seek refuge. The commander sneered. Refuge is a temporary thing. The council's orders stand. Callan moved. In front of Leary, unarmed but firm. You will not take her, he said. The commander laughed. A lone human thinks he can stop us? Callan looked the menacing soldiers in the eye. She is not your prisoner. She is free. A tense silence fell. The villagers gathered, their faces determined. Aliens and humans stood side by side, united. You'll have to go through all of us, Senna said. The commander hesitated. Callan spoke again, his voice steady. Leary belongs here now. You cannot erase that. Suddenly a radio crackled. Hold your position, a voice ordered. From the sky, a sleek ship appeared, a diplomatic vessel from Earth. The commander's eyes widened. A new voice came from the ship's speaker. Leary is under Earth's protection. Any attempt to capture her will be met with consequences. The soldiers looked at each other, then backed away. The village erupted in relief and cheers. Leary stepped forward, tears in her eyes. Callan smiled. You're safe. Senna nodded. Your courage brought us together. Leary looked at her friends, her new family. For the first time, she felt truly free. The sun rose softly over Illyria, casting golden light on the peaceful village. Birds sang in the trees, and the gentle sound of flowing water filled the air. But beneath the calm, something had changed. Leary woke early. The events of the previous day still echoed in her mind. The arrival of the Earth diplomats, the promise of protection, the strength of her new friends. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope bloom inside her heart. She stepped outside her small cottage and looked up at the twin suns warming the sky. The air smelled fresh, full of life. Callan was already waiting near the edge of the village. His eyes lit up when he saw her. Good morning, he said with a smile. Leary smiled back. Good morning. I think today will be a good day. Callan nodded. I believe so too. The village gathered in the central square, where the Earth diplomats and Senna stood. Everyone was eager but careful. They knew danger was still close, even if the immediate threat had passed. Senna addressed the crowd. Leary is now officially under Earth's protection. No one may harm or remove her from Illyria without Earth's consent. Cheers rose from the villagers. Leary stepped forward. Her voice was calm but strong. Thank you, everyone, for believing in me, for protecting me. Callan felt pride swell inside him. This girl, once rejected by her own people, now stood tall, free and respected. But peace never lasts forever. As the day wore on, Leary and Callan walked through the village. Children ran past, laughing, and aliens of many kinds went about their work. The air was filled with hope. Suddenly, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed on the buildings. Callan's heart jumped. Not again. Senna appeared, her face serious. Bounty hunters. They've tracked us here. From the forest edge, armed figures appeared. They were fast and skilled, moving like shadows. The villagers scrambled, readying defenses. But Leary felt fear. Callan took her hand. Stay close. The bounty hunters advanced, their leader stepping forward. We've come for the Yellari girl, he said. The council demands her return, Senna raised her voice. You will not take her. Callan stepped between Leary and the hunters. She is under Earth's protection. Leave now, the leader sneered. We don't answer to Earth. Suddenly from the sky, Earth's ships appeared once more, sleek and powerful. They formed a protective ring around the village. A voice boomed from the largest ship. Bounty hunters, stand down. This is your only warning. The hunters looked at each other, then slowly retreated. The village erupted in relief. That night, under a sky filled with stars, Leary sat by the campfire. Callan joined her. You were brave today, he said quietly. She looked at him, her eyes shining. I never thought I could be. You are stronger than you know. Leary smiled softly. Because of you. Callan reached out, gently taking her hand. She leaned her head on his shoulder. For a moment the past, the rejection, the fear, the loneliness, felt far away. Days passed peacefully. Leary began helping the village in many ways, teaching children, sharing songs, and learning new skills. Her voice became a symbol of hope. Callan worked beside her, their bond growing deeper. One afternoon, Senna invited Leary to speak with Earth diplomats by the river. You have a choice now, Senna said. You can return to your people or stay here with us. Leary looked at the flowing water. My people, they did not want me. Senna nodded. This is your home now. Leary smiled. Then I choose to stay. At the village festival that evening, the sky lit with colorful lights. Music and laughter filled the air. Leary sang a new song, one she had written for Eliara. Her voice carried over the hills, reaching far beyond. Callan watched her, proud and grateful. She turned to him and whispered, Thank you for seeing me when no one else did. He smiled. I'll always be here. Under the twin suns, surrounded by friends and freedom, Leary finally found her place.